What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talkin Sports with Jake. Hope you're all doing well. Let's talk about some baseball scores. We got Seattle Mariners beat the Astros 7-6. Seattle's right there. The American League West are playing really well. They sweep the Astros, so a huge series sweep for the Seattle Mariners over the division rival, the Houston Astros. Red Sox beat the Yankees 6-5. They sweep the Yankees. It was a game where I think the game was tied. It was a runner on first. I think maybe Volpe hit a single like left field near the line. The left fielder of Houston had trouble with it. I think Kniff left on that in the runner trying to score. And they sent him home. And he was originally called safe. It was reviewed. I'm not sure if Al scored a challenge or if it was reviewed. It got thrown, but then they reversed the call. They said he was out. It was a little controversial. I think at first they thought because the throw was kind of low, and the Red Sox catcher he kind of caught it in the ground, and he kept his hand on the play, and the runner slid into his glove, but he couldn't tell if his foot got in before the tag or if they controlled of the ball. On the replay, you could tell the Red Sox catcher had controlled the ball, but it was really close. You can make an argument that right for either side. In that case, maybe you can make the argument that the call should not have been overturned. It was too close, but it was, to me, if he held on to the ball, I know it looks like, oh, it's so close you can't reverse it. If the Red Sox catcher held on to the ball, which it looks like he did, and the umpires team that he did on replay, Kniff, whoever was, slid right into his glove. It's hard to see how he wasn't tagged out. And then eventually, I think the Red Sox got around in the ninth inning off Clay Holmes, and bottom line, he got the first two on, but then squandered the opportunity. They've lost 8 games in a row. They are basically cooked. This is the longest losing streak since 1995, 28 years ago. San Francisco Giants beat the Atlanta Braves 4-3. A base little walk by Peterson in the ninth inning wins that one. Detroit Tigers beat the Cleveland Guardians 4-1. Tigers are playing pretty well. Josh Wilkerson's been hot. The number 1 pick a couple years ago was horrible last year. Was sent back to the minus at one point. Overall, hasn't had a great year this year, but has been playing a lot better. Toronto Blue Jays beat the Reds 10-3. 2 home runs for Brandon Belt. Toronto hit 5 in the game. With Red starter Hunter Green. Twins over the Pirates 2-0. Dallas Keuchel, who's now on the Twins, he took a perfect game into the 7th inning in that one. Cardinals beat the Mets 7-3, so they avoid the sweep. A home run 3 RBIs from Paul Goldschmidt. Cubs over the Royals 4-3. Royals over the Texas Rangers 6-2. Scherzer came out in the 4th inning of that one, allowed 3 or 4 runs. He had 4 walks. Only goes 3 2/3. His first loss since going to the Texas Rangers. White Sox beat Colorado 10-5. Orioles beat the Athletics 12-1. They hit 3 home runs in the game. Kyle Bradish pitched a really good game. And Nationals beat the Phillies 4-3 in the Little League Classic. By the way, if you haven't watched any Little League World Series, I suggest you do so. It is a lot of fun to watch. Games are always really good. The NBL is just a Little League World Classic. Once a year, it's a lot of fun. I remember when the Mets were in it like 5 years ago or so. It was a lot of fun to watch. The divisional standings, Baltimore leads Tampa by 3 games in the American League East. You got Toronto 8.5 out, and Red Sox and Yankees right now. That division, American League Central, Twins have built up a 6-game lead on Cleveland. It's more just Cleveland just being really bad. Tigers not being that good, and the White Sox and the Royals are just awful. The Twins are only 5 games over 500, but are in first place by 6 games. The division is awful. Texas Rangers lead Houston by 2.5 games. Seattle is only 3 games ahead of Texas. But should be behind Texas in the American League West. They've won 6 in a row. they've been one of the league's best teams, really, over the last, 6 or 7 weeks. They were very mediocre through June, but ever since July, they've been fantastic. You got the Angels and, of course, the Oakland Athletics. Running out that division. National League East, Braves lead the fifth by 13.5 games. That division is pretty much over. Milwaukee Brewers, they lead the Cubs by 3 games. Reds 4 back. The Pirates and Cardinals are at the bottom. National League West, Dodgers over an 11.5 game lead. That division is also basically over. You got the wild card standings. Got Baltimore, Texas, and Minnesota are your division leaders. First wild card in the American League is Tampa. First wild card, they are 5 games ahead for that first spot. Houston over Seattle was the last spot. Houston's the second spot. Seattle has sole possession of the last wild card in the American League. They're only a half game out of the second spot behind Houston. Toronto is a half game out of the last spot now. Got the Boston Red Sox, who were won 7 of 10. They swept the Yankees. They are 3 games out. That's really the only. By the way, the Yankees are, excuse me, 9 games out. The New York Yankees are 9 games into the playoff spot. They are 60 and 64. They are 4 games under 500. They're, I think, 17.5 games out of the American League East. They're 6 games out of 4th place. The Red Sox are in 4th place in the American League East, and they're 6 games ahead of the Yankees. Yankees, they're just pitiful. I think you need a complete reset. I might have to do a podcast just based off what the heck the Yankees should do. Because they are just pitiful. This might be the lowest the franchise has ever reached. They say they're the big bad Yankees, best franchise in American sports. Well, they have not been to the World Series. No, not even one been there in 14 years. They're not good. You got Cleveland, Detroit, White Sox, Kansas City, Oakland rounded out. They're basically all done. Cleveland's fading the American Central. Detroit, they're playing a smidge better. Part of me feels the division isn't completely out of reach because Minnesota's not that good either. Minnesota might win 85 games and be right there in the division. But still, Detroit's going to have to go on a run. White Sox are cooked. Kansas City's cooked, and Oakland's been cooked since the offseason, before the season even started. Next, we got Atlanta at 80-43. They got the best record in baseball. They're 3 or 4 games ahead of Baltimore for that mark. Second best team next week is the Dodgers, who are 4 games back of Atlanta for number 1 record in the league, which is important because that gives you home field advantage throughout the entire postseason. They got Milwaukee in first place. First wildcard team in the National League is Philadelphia. Second wildcard team is San Francisco. San Francisco is 2 games behind Philly for the second spot. Cubs are the last team in right now. They are a half game behind San Francisco for the second wildcard spot and 2.5 games behind Philadelphia. Arizona, Cincinnati, and Miami are all a game out. Arizona, who was struggling since the All-Star, since the trade deadline. Well, they've really been slumping for a while now, but now playing a little bit better. They're only a game out of the wild card. And the Reds are only a game out. And the Marlins are only a game out. Marlins had a phenomenal first half. Have overall struggled in the second half of the season, but still right there. Still only a game out. You get the project 6 games out. Mets 1-5 the last 7, but still 7 games out. And now they play Atlanta Braves, so does not bode well. Then you got Washington. Washington 8 games out of the wild card. They're a little better than expected. By the way, they just extend their manager to Dave Martinez for on a 2-year extension. They're also expected to extend their GM Mike Rizzo. I always go for a while. I never know what to make of Dave Martinez. His first year was like, oh Lord, this looks like a disaster. Yeah, a team I thought could be in the World Series and went 500, saying he was losing the locker room. Then in 2019, they got to a really bad start. I was like, yeah, this guy, I don't know if he's going to survive a year. I don't know if this guy will even be here for 2 calendar years. Then they turned around, win a World Series. And also, oh, this guy's actually a pretty good manager. He was manager of the year finalist. And then in 2020, they weren't good. Like, all right, it was a weird season. 2020. In 2021, they sucked again. I was like, I don't know about this guy, but for having he's had some bad rosters the last couple of years, and last year they had the league's worst record, but this year, roster wasn't that much better than it was last year. I mean, you have a full year of Josiah Gray, a full year of Mackenzie Gore in your rotation. You run Dom Smith. It's been okay. Hit like 270 since like the middle of May. Cool. Yammer Candelario played well, but they traded him away at the trade deadline. They're 11 games under 500. They're only a game behind the Mets. The Mets have been horrible this year. Of course, a major disappointment, but still. The fact they might not finish in last place National League East is a step in the right direction, at least for Washington. It's still not good, but they got a couple pieces there. I think they realized because of the new MLB collective bargaining agreement, you can't pick. You can't have the top 3 or top 6 draft pick 2 years in a row. So Nationals can't have higher than a 10th pick. So it was like, guys, we're right there with the Mets. Might as well try to win and beat them out and just say, you have a enormous payroll, and we'll have a great team. We finish better than you. And for the Mets, they're almost better off losing, because if they don't have a lottery pick, their draft pick moves down 10 spots because of Robert look tax. That being said, as Memphis, I don't really care. The MLB draft is kind of overrated. Very few times, is that important. So I never really care if the Mets got a qualifying offer, lost a qualifying offer player, and got a draft pick. It didn't really matter. And Pittsburgh, St. Louis, and Colorado are all awful, and they're pretty much done. So, Bo Bichette was activated by the Toronto Blue Jays. He's been out since, I think, July 25th. He's one of the league's best players. So he's had a phenomenal year. As of yesterday, he was hitting .319, about .351 on base, 17 homers, 60 RBIs, 842 OPS. They DFA'd Paul DeYoung, who they made the trade for of St. Louis, basically to replace Bichette when they knew he was going to be out for a little bit. Guy who, a bunch of years ago, he had a really good rookie year for the Cardinals in the 6-year extension. That went for a ton of money. It was like $36 million or something like that. But so a modest 6-year deal. He has really struggled since then. He was having a little better year at the plate this year, but he was 3 for 44 in Toronto. He hit .068 in Toronto. .068. He was 3 for 44. On the year, he's hitting .211, 13 homers, only 33 RBIs, and a 634 OPS. Yikes. So he was DFA with Bichette back. So Young's tenure in Toronto lasted not even 3 weeks. Reds call up their top prospect, Novelty Marte. He's expected to play third base every day for them for the rest of the season. Another top prospect coming up in Cincinnati. They, of course, every day like Cruz, Matt McClain, go down the list. Tim Anderson had his suspension reduced to 5 games after he appealed. I'm a little confused. I don't really like Tim Anderson. I don't know why. He's got as many home runs as he has been knocked out this year, but why did Jose Ramirez get less games than him? More games than him. But he got less games than Tim Anderson. Anderson, he started it, but he did throw a punch, but his punch really didn't actually connect. Jose Ramirez freaking clocked him. Again, Anderson's a clown for starting that fight, but he's the one who got clocked. Probably should have gotten more games. Anyway, Jonathan Taves said he's stepping away from hockey, but not fully retiring. He's not expected to play this season, but maybe next year down the line could eventually return to hockey. Doesn't have anything else to prove. Was a great player in Chicago for a very long time. Was their captain from a number 3 overall pick, way back. Won 3 cups. Actually, I can pull up his stats right now, and he played 16 seasons in Chicago, 1,067 games, 372 goals, 511 assists, 883 points. Made a bunch of All-Star games. He was 3-time Cup champion. He was a captain. Nothing else to prove. He had a tough year last year. Overall, played decently, not what he wanted for, but still a decent player, and I think he had COVID, kept him out for like a while, almost like 20 games or something like that. So actually, why he wasn't traded the trade deadline, like Tetra Kane was. So the NBA is investigating Harden's claims on saying John Moore was a liar. Who's exactly telling the truth? Harden came out and said today, said the reason he said that was because he was told once he requested the trade that he would be traded quickly. Now, obviously, months later, he's not been traded. Now they're saying they don't really want to trade him. I'm tired of hearing about these two. They need to figure this out. It's annoying. No one wants James Harden. No one wants you. You're not that good. Okay? You're just not. You're a shell of your former self. You've never been good in the playoffs. You're really bad in the playoffs now. No one's giving up a really, a talented young future all-star and the first-round pick for you. Maybe you'll get like a role player and a second-round pick. I don't think you get much more than that. He's due $35 million this year. So that's the whole. So if you're wondering why you haven't been traded, that's why, because no one wants you. And John Moore needs to really realize that too. Like, dude. Like, why do you want an all-star and a first-round pick for him? Or like multiple first-round picks for him? You're not going to get that. I don't know if you get one first-round pick. You're certainly going to elite player. You might get an okay player or two. Maybe one first-round pick in a couple of years from now. Maybe a protected first-round pick in a couple of years. But that's what most you're going to get. At this point, it is a third option. Meanwhile, he needs to be the vocal point of the offense. Unless you have a guy like Embiid, he'll be the co-star. And he's a liability in the playoffs. Getting older. He's been declining. No one wants the dude. I'm sorry, they don't. I wouldn't. I don't want the next. Heck no. So there's been news that Stanford probably won't join the ACC. They made a pitch to ACC saying that they would join on reduced or even no media rights payouts. So they're trying to convince the ACC to take them in, basically saying, please get us out of the freaking Pac-12. And Jim Harbaugh has been suspended for 3 games. A couple of years ago, like during COVID, where you couldn't have any like full team practices, he violated those rules, and then he lied. I think he lied about it to the NCAA. Originally, they were planning to give him a 4-game suspension, but they couldn't. But Harbaugh and like NCAA couldn't come to an agreement on the suspension. So Michigan put a self-imposed ban on him to say, like, all right, like don't want him to be suspended. He's a great coach. We're a top 5 team in the country right now. We're we're favored to win the Big Ten and possibly be in the college football playoff and be a contender for the national championship. But we did make a mistake. We'll give him 3 games. It shouldn't really make a difference. The 3 games he's going to miss against ECU, East Carolina University, UNLV, and Bowling Green. They should be 3-0 by the time he comes back. And then week 4, he plays Rutgers. Again, I like to root for like the local teams here in New York, Rutgers in New Jersey. There isn't a shot in heck Rutgers beats them in Michigan in football. Basketball, still probably not, but maybe. Football, heck no. So they'll be fine. There's preseason coming to an end. Traylon Burks sprained his LCL. Was going to be out a few weeks. He was the first one picked last year by Tennessee. A lot of injuries last year at 11 games, 32 catches for 44 yards and a touchdown. And now he's hurt again. He's had a lot of trouble staying on the field. You got Miles Jack retired at the 7th season. Their linebacker was in Jacksonville for a while. Was in Pittsburgh last year. Had 3 100 tackle season. Eagles were only picking him up a couple of weeks ago. Apparently, the story is he was considering retiring. Then the Eagles picked him up, so he like last second ended up playing, but now he decided to retire. So interesting move there. The Ravens signed Jadeveon Clowney, 3-time Pro Bowler. First overall pick by the Houston Texans. He's bounced around the league. Didn't have a great year last year in Cleveland, and he called out Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett basically fired back at him. Then Clowney apologized. He's a little older now, but he goes to Baltimore Ravens for number 1 pick. Remember, he was a freak at South Carolina. Guy who we knew be number 1 pick like a year or two in advance. And he really overall has not lived up to the hype. He's never had a 10-sack season. He's got he'll go out 1 year, he'll have 8 or 9 sacks. Team will give him another contract, and then he'll go up next year and have 2 sacks. He's a guy, if you put him next to a stud like Myles Garrett or a TJ Watt kind of player, he can be a good player, give you 8 or 9 sacks. Get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. He can stop the run. But if he's not with a guy like that, he shouldn't even be a starting D yet. He's at best a rotational pass rusher. Like last year, Myles Garrett, this time he did nothing. Lions waive receiver Denzel Mims from Jet. 2nd-round pick hasn't worked out. They traded him to the Lions for a 6th-round pick. Of course, Mims has been disgruntled with Jets for a couple of years now, and he hurt his ankle, so they waived him. So he's out of the league. Dolphins rookie running back Devin Shane, who's been very impressive in training camp and in practice, saying he's really, really fast. Was carted off, but Mike McDaniel, the head coach, said he's week to week. So not as bad as we thought. Thank goodness for the Dolphins. A couple of major injuries. Eagles corner Zach McPherson is out for the year with a torn ACL last year at 30 tackles and 2 pass defenses. Colts defensive end Janoir Avery is out for the year with a torn Achilles for Zach McPherson. Janoir Avery's out for the year with also torn Achilles. He had a good year last year. It's a bit of a loss for the Colts. Last year, 106 tackles, 8.5 sacks, 5 pass defenses, a fumble recovery, and a forced fumble. So Colts will miss him. He's out for the year. And they also lose Ashwin Dulin, one of their young receivers for the season with a torn ACL. Last year, he had 15 catches, 207 yards on the score. Didn't do much, but the receiving core is kind of thin. You have Michael Pittman, who I do like. 3rd or 4th year in the league, being a 1st-round pick. 2nd-year man, Alec Pierce. After that, you got Josh Downs, the rookie, and then not a ton else. So Jimmy Graham, the Saints tight end, had a medical episode. He was taken into custody. So hopefully he's okay. He was not in the league last year. Last played for the Bears 2 years ago. He's years ago with the Saints, he was an absolute beast. But he bounced around the league 2 years ago with the Bears, didn't do a whole lot. And last year was out of the league. Now he's trying to come back, going back toward All-Star with the Saints. But so hopefully he's okay. Cowboys rookie DeMarvion Overshown's out for the year with torn ACL. So tough break for him. And then Joe Mixon, there's certain reports he's not going to speak to. He was recently pleaded not guilty to some crime. He still has that civil suit where somebody fired a gun at some children on his front lawn. He didn't fire the gun, but the defendant is claiming that he supplied the weapon and the ammo. So Nixon's always in trouble with the law. I'm not a fan. He's a really good player, but he's really not a good person. He's always getting in trouble. He does not seem like a nice person. So Hideki Matsuyama just withdrew from the BMW championship, which means he won't be able to play in the Tour Championship, which is that big for either the Ryder or President's Cup every year. He had been in it 9 years in a row. That was a most of any current PGA golfer. So it's a shame for him. And Tour Championship starts this Thursday. It's a big one. Is in Atlanta, Georgia, at the East Lake Golf Club. You win a lot of money if you win that one. The defending champ is Rory McIlroy. And by the way, just so you know, the Ryder Cup, September 29th, coming up in about 5 weeks or so. It's the Ryder Cup, which will be in Rome this year. Can't wait for that. And before we wrap up, let's recap Friday Night SmackDown. We had Grayson Waller. He invited since the LWL, well, mainly Santos Escobar and Rey Mysterio on his show, tried to drive a wedge between them, saying, because remember the week before, Escobar got hurt, and Rey stepped in and won the U.S. title. and but didn't work. And Austin Theory came out, the LA Knight came out, and those two fought. Austin Theory won after a distraction from the Miz. You had Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair beat Down Control in a tag team match. But then backstage, they beat the crap out of Belair, the Down Control. The Street Profits, Angel Dawkins, and Montez Ford defeated the Good Brothers, known, of course, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows in a tag team match in short order, and then Bob Lashley came out and gave him a hug. Of course, they're still building that story. We had a very cryptic backstage segment with Paul Heyman, Caleb Rex. So, I've heard rumors about the line, and then Heyman was like, well, I've heard rumors about your family, blah, 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 blah. Then he got a phone call and said, he's like, oh, okay. He's like, well, Jimmy Uso is going to be on SmackDown next week. And she was like, care to share your service? And he was like, no. And he walked away. So we will see what happens next week. And of course, Edge's last match and his 25th anniversary in his hometown, Toronto, he beat Sheamus. And there were tributes throughout the night. And him and Sheamus had a big hug after the match. They actually go back a while. You don't see it, but I believe after they went off the air, he gave a speech to the crowd, thanking them. He thanked Sheamus, gave him his flowers. Yeah. Social media posts like shouting out Sheamus, with a picture of the two drinking together. Incredible career for Edge. Of course, back in 2011, he went on live television and announced he was forced to retire because of neck injuries. He was already in the Hall of Fame. It was 9 years later, he returned to the Royal Rumble in 2020. He had a nice little part-time run, but now it appears he's retired for good. So shout out to Edge. What an incredible career. All right, that's all I got for you guys today. I'm still figuring out what my schedule is going to be like next week when I go back to school, but plan to do the show Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Probably not Friday. So after Thursday, you may not see me until Monday, but keep you guys posted. Until next time, so long. Have a great day.